Today, Starbucks operates tens of thousands of locations across the globe. The company's footprint is so massive and its aesthetic so uniform that it feels like the result of a single, perfectly engineered corporate strategy. But the actual DNA of this organization is the result of a highly unlikely collision between two radically different ideologies. To understand how a localized coffee bean shop changed the way the world drinks, we have to look at the two separate environments that birthed it: the relentless corporate hustle of New York City and the uncompromising artisan culture of 1970s Seattle. In the 1950s, Howard Schultz grew up here, in the Bayview housing projects of Canarsie, Brooklyn. His father was a truck driver who delivered diapers. When he broke his ankle on the job, the family had no savings, no insurance, and no income. Schultz watched the system grind his father down, leaving him with no professional dignity. Witnessing that loss of dignity created an intense fear of failure. Schultz channeled that anxiety into sports, idolizing figures like Mickey Mantle and obsessing over winning as a way to outrun his circumstances. By his late 20s, he had achieved exactly what society told him to aim for: a high-pressure sales career in the New York corporate world, a $75,000 salary, and a vice president title. Yet, despite the financial security, he felt a persistent emptiness. He was selling word processors and housewares, products he found uninspiring and devoid of passion. The trauma of poverty had built a high-performance engine of ambition. He just hadn't found a fuel worth burning. Across the country, the original Starbucks founders were operating in a different reality. Jerry Baldwin and Gordon Bowker were academics and writers who had no interest in traditional business growth. In the 1970s, the American coffee market was defined by mass-produced cans. Major corporations maximized profits by filling those cans with cheap, lower-quality Robusta beans. Baldwin and Bowker started a small-scale rebellion. They opened a tiny shop in Seattle specifically to roast and sell high-quality, dark-roasted Arabica beans to a small community of enthusiasts. They were coffee purists. They cared entirely about the craft of the dark roast and actively avoided mass-market appeal or any form of corporate expansion. These founders possessed the authentic soul of a superior product, but they had no desire to take that product beyond their own neighborhood. In 1981, Schultz's corporate world detected a strange outlier in the sales data. A tiny, 4-store Seattle operation was somehow ordering more manual drip coffee makers than all of Macy's department store. This outlier prompted Schultz to fly to Seattle to investigate in person. He wanted to know what kind of shop could generate that much demand. An ambitious salesman's instinct to follow a data outlier is often the catalyst for shifting an entire industry. When Schultz entered the Pike Place Market store, he was met with a sensory experience he hadn't seen in New York: the manual brewing ritual and the intense aroma of freshly roasted beans. Then he tasted the coffee. He realized that compared to this dark roast, the canned coffee he had been drinking his entire life was essentially swill. He saw that if this specific craft could be scaled and replicated across the country, it would move coffee from a cheap supermarket commodity to a premium daily ritual for millions of people. Schultz began an obsessive year-long campaign to join the company. He begged the founders for a role, eventually offering to leave his high-paying New York life for a small piece of equity. This effort peaked at a dinner in San Francisco. Schultz finally pitched his vision, taking the uncompromising Starbucks brand national and building a coast-to-coast empire. Schultz was pitching a national future to men who wanted to preserve a local past, setting the stage for an inevitable clash between scale and authenticity. Schultz returned to New York certain that he had secured the job. He began making plans to uproot his life and move his family to the Northwest. But then Jerry Baldwin called with a crushing update. He was turning Schultz down. The founders believed that scaling the company was a threat to their standards. They feared that rapid expansion would destroy the intimate quality they had spent a decade refining. This rejection served as a protective barrier, maintained by purists who viewed the engine of corporate ambition as a danger to the integrity of their craft. We know how this ends. Schultz eventually wore them down, joined the company, and later bought it, using his ambition to turn that localized craft into a global standard. An artisan's focus on the local batch remains a secret without an ambitious engine to move it. But an engine of ambition is hollow without a product that possesses an authentic, uncompromising soul. Ultimately, lasting changes in how we live are rarely the result of a single plan. They are the result of the painful, necessary friction between unscalable craft and unbridled ambition. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more awesome book summaries from Summarypedia.